So today we're going to be showing you one of my favorite skill builds to run in Legendary Summit with a group, right? Because you guys know when you guys play Legendary Summit solo versus 2-man, 3-man, 4-man, the health pool does change and you want something that hits a little bit harder. And what's amazing about these explosive damage builds is if you can time it right, it can clear a huge room in a short amount of time, and that's what's amazing about it. As you guys are seeing this gameplay, this was floor 90, so we had the bosses, we had a lot of NPCs coming out, and this was my build. Now what's cool about this, guys, you guys can tweak the build a lot of different ways. You can switch out pieces here and there. As you guys are gonna see the build that I'm gonna break down to you guys, I'll show you what changes I did compared to the build that you're seeing here, and then I'll also tell you exactly what I had running here. But the build that I'm going to show you hits a little bit harder. It's just you need one exotic piece to pull it off. But once you do, it will perform just as well. So I know you guys want to know about the build. So why don't we get into it? We just finished this floor level 90 and there's nothing else really to show here. So let's get into the build itself. So let's get into the build. So you guys probably noticed we were using the capacitor, which is probably the best AR in the game at the moment, and probably will be for a long time for skill builds. So if you guys have been looking for a build, this one is for you. So I recommend, if you guys don't have this, all you have to do is 5 challenges in the summit and you can get your first capacitor. So definitely go out there, grab it. It's definitely going to improve your build. As you guys see here, shooting enemies builds stacks to a cap of 40. Each stack grants 1.5% skill damage. After 5 seconds, the stacks do decay 1 per second. And for every yellow skill tier you have, you gain 7.5% weapon damage. So a lot of damage right there, especially on a 6 skill tier build that I'm running right here. So yeah, that is the primary. For the secondary, it doesn't really matter. I just have the FAO on here just for a little bit of damage with in sync. Kind of go with my build, but obviously I'll be using the capacitor as much as possible. Now for the specialization, you guys do want to go with the demolitionist, and the reason why is because it allows us to use the mortar turret. As you guys were seeing, we were just blowing everything up, and the only class that allows you to do that at the moment is the demolitionist. So yeah, you want to make sure you have that. So for the build, we are running with the Empress International mask. Now we do have a 3-piece Empress on. We have for that skill health, skill damage, skill efficiency. On the mask, we have skill tier, status effects, skill damage, and skill haste. Now, ideally, you could put skill haste or status effects, but since we are using a mortar turret, it does cause a bleed effect once the mortar turret hits. And if you have status effects on there, it increases that amount of damage. So that's why the status effects, skill damage is probably what you probably want to roll throughout the build. And then for the chest, we are running the China Light chest. We do have a 1-piece China Light for the 15% explosive damage. We have 1 skill tier, skill damage, skill haste, and skill haste mod. And if you look, we have kinetic momentum, one of my favorite skill chest piece talents to run. A lot of people like running glass cannon. I just don't like being that squishy, and you guys already know you're already squishy at 726,000 armor. Having glass cannon makes you even that much more squishy, but it's really up to you. I like kinetic momentum, a lot of damage out of here. When in combat, each skill generates a stack while active and not on cooldown. Stacks increase your total skill damage by 1% and total skill repair by 2%, up to 15 stacks per skill. Now this is lost when on cooldown, but once you have that stack going, it's a lot of damage that you guys are getting, up to 30% extra skill damage when you have both at full stack. So it's kind of cool to have right there. For the holster, you might have not seen it in the video, but that's because we're running a different piece. But ideally, waveform holster is the piece you want to put here. Skill tier, skill damage, skill haste. Probably one of the better skill damage exotic pieces to put on your build. It generates a stack of 3% skill damage on one of your skills every second, capping at 10 stacks. So that's 30% max cap on one skill, and then it constantly goes back and forth. So you can have up to 30% on one skill and 30% on other skill as it constantly goes through, which is actually really cool. It's a very strong piece to have on a lot of skill damage pieces. Second piece of Empress International. So we have status effects, skill damage, and then obviously skill tier. For our gloves, we went with the Wyvern Wear for the 10% skill damage. We have 1 skill tier, we have skill damage, and then skill haste. And obviously this helps with the mortar turret and also helps with our striker drone. And then finally, our final piece of Empress International, skill health, skill damage, skill efficiency for the 3-piece. So we're getting that 10% skill efficiency, which is technically everything, right? It's skill damage, status effects, skill haste. It's all the goodies. So that's what skill efficiency is. One skill tier, skill damage, skill haste, and another skill haste mod. Now, we do have tech support on here, but ideally, I do run a lot of different talents. I do like tech support. The one thing is, if you're fighting tankier enemies, you might not proc tech support right away. But once you do proc it, that's 25% extra skill damage for 20 seconds. Now, if you feel like you're not killing enemies fast enough, you're not taking advantage of tech support as much, you might want to hop on over, and let me show you this talent right here. Perfect Shock and Awe is actually a good one. Applying the status effect to an enemy increases total skill damage and repair by 20%. So that's additional 20, and that lasts 27 seconds. Even regular Shock and Awe, I think it's 20 seconds or 25 seconds, but it's still 20% skill damage, and you just have to apply that status effect. So as soon as you hit him with the mortar turret, Shock and Awe or Perfect Shock and Awe will be active. So that's just something for a lot of you guys to keep in mind. If that's something you're starting to notice that on your build, you're not getting those kills, so you're not really taking advantage of tech support, well, this could be a great way for you guys to switch out that piece and run it. And that's what you guys kind of saw in the video. I was running Perfect Shock and Awe on there. So really up to you, but this is how I would run my skill build. A lot of damage, and as you guys were seeing, we were just mowing through him. It's a ton of fun when you start just destroying enemies, and that's what I enjoy about the build. Let me know what you guys think. Hopefully you guys enjoy it. If you guys have any questions, if there's any other builds you guys would like me to do, if there's a build you've been working on and would like to know more about it, let me know. This definitely works in group play on Legendary. Finish off the video, what we're going to do is we are going to put you onto some Hunter Floor 91 Legendary gameplay, and it's about 4 minutes long. It took us that long to kill these guys, but yeah, you'll see the build at work with obviously the other 3 members of the team.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
All this time I've never kept them.
Rogue artillery turret detected. Rogue sniper turret detected. Rogue stinger hive detected. Rogue mender seer mine detected. Rogue fixer drone detected. Rogue incinerator turret detected.
Maybe we'll get some good drops.
Rogue striker drone detected.
If I can land this in there. You got so many white deaths from farming name caches. Yeah. Actually, the other day I was farming and they kept dropping.
Rogue incinerator turret detected.
Put that little there.
Rogue striker drone detected.
Coming down to the wire.
Do you have marksmans on your set as your loot?
Yeah. Yes.
Oh, okay.